Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, as you can tell, we are going to be doing a full ear to tail groom on this cute, adorable little Yorkie. This Yorkie's name is Yuno. She is about 8 months old, female, and this is actually going to be her very first grooming haircut. So let's go ahead and get started. If you guys want to see the entire process all the way from bath time to the very end, then let's get going. So the very first step to any groom is, of course, a really good bath. The better that the dog is bathed, the easier it will be to groom them once they are dry. So I am just going in with an all-purpose hypoallergenic shampoo and just giving her a good scrub down with this. She was quite dirty and she did have a few little dingleberries, I guess you could call them. So I just washed her down really good. I also used a rubber curry. Now, I didn't use the rubber curry like I would with another dog. I basically used this and really kind of scrubbed in the direction of her hair growth. And because I really wanted to make sure that the shampoo got all the way down to the skin, because one thing with Yorkies, if you have ever groomed one, if you own one, then you know that they can get very greasy very quickly because they do have that natural hair. So I did wash her with the shampoo about 2 times. And then once she was all nice and squeaky clean, I towel dried her really well, as best as I could, to get most of the moisture out. And then the very next step that I am going to go in with is my high velocity dryer. Now, this is something that can be a little bit terrifying to some dogs. Some dogs don't mind it at all, and some dogs absolutely hate it. And if you are grooming a puppy, sometimes puppies don't really know what to think about it, and 9 times out of 10 they absolutely hate it. So you can either try things like putting cotton balls in the ears or putting a happy hoodie on them, you know, whatever you can do to make them calm, but you really want to try to get them as used to it as possible, because when you do own dogs such as a Yorkie, they have to be groomed on a regular basis, so they are eventually going to have to get used to it. If for some reason you have a dog that has dryer seizures, I mean, typically happens more with older dogs, but if you do have a dog that just can't handle the dryer at all, you can just use a kennel dryer. So basically what I did is I started with the condenser cone on my high velocity dryer on a low setting and just kind of started at the back end of her, really kind of blowing that moisture out. And then when I thought she could handle it, I did turn it up to the high setting and really tried to get all of that moisture out, really making sure that the coat is completely 100% dry. Now, as you can see, she was struggling quite a bit with this. She was not a fan of it. And this next thing that I really wanted to show you guys is something that I learned recently, and it is seriously so incredibly helpful, and it really does work. So when you have the high velocity dryer on a dog or a puppy and you see them struggling, you don't necessarily want to take the airflow away, because then they're going to associate that, oh, if I throw a temper tantrum, they're going to take it away. So it's best to just kind of keep the airflow on them, and then once they kind of calm down, you kind of, you know, point it away and you praise them. So if they're holding still, point the airflow away, say good boy or good girl, give them a little pat on the head or whatever, and then continue to dry them. And once Yuna was 100% completely dry, I went in with a slicker brush and using the entire surface of the pad, I went over her entire coat and really tried to brush out her coat. Now, she hasn't been groomed in a while. I have groomed her before, but she hasn't been groomed in a while, and these kinds of dogs do get really, really tangly hair. There's a whole bunch of little knots everywhere. They're a pain in the ass to brush out. So I did have to go in with some thinning shears and just kind of thin some of the really bad tangles out, because when you're grooming a dog, the one thing to remember is humanity over vanity. You don't want to put the dog through any sort of pain if it's not necessary. So I knew that I was going to be giving her a pretty short haircut, so I just went in with some thinning shears and just kind of cut out as many tangles that I couldn't get out with the brush. And then once I have her all completely brushed out and I got most of the tangles out, it is time for the clipper work. So I am just using my KM10s, just my little 2-speed clipper. I absolutely love this. It's the only one I have, and it's the one that I've been using all the time, every time that I groom a dog, and I decided to go with a 4F blade on the body. I did go a little bit down the legs, but I mostly left the legs for a lot of scissoring work, which we will get into later. But I went and used my 4F blade on my clipper, and I started on her back, going all the way up to her occiput, all the way down onto the tail, because when you're doing a full haircut like this, whatever blade you use on the body, you also want to use on the tail as well. So that is what I did, and I went over her body a total of 3 times, 3 passes, and back brushing each time, just to make sure that I got all of the hair, because your clippering work is not done if there's still hair coming off with the clippers, if that makes sense. And then I also did the exact same thing on her front area, on her throat, chest, belly, you know, all that good stuff. And then the next step in my little grooming routine is something that I do with all the dogs, and that is a Sani trim. Basically, a Sani trim is where you clipper the butthole area, underneath the legs, their private parts, and their armpits. Now, she has never had a Sani trim before, so I decided to kind of rig up my own little groomer's helper just to keep her still. That way she wouldn't jerk around and risk me accidentally cutting her with my clippers. So I attached her to that to make sure she was secure and wouldn't fling herself off the table. Because that's something that can happen. And then I went in with my same clippers and I used a number 10 blade. Sometimes I use a 15, but a majority of the time I use a number 10. And I already did her butthole area off camera. Again, making sure that the actual blade never comes in contact with the rectum. And then I just kind of shaved the hair around that, so when she does go number 2, she won't get a bunch of dingleberries caught in her hair. And then while I still had the number 10 blade on my clippers, I moved up to her ears really quick, because usually with Yorkies, they usually get the tips of their ears trimmed with the number 10, just the very tips of them. So I went in and shaved the tops of them and also the insides of them. Now, when you're clipping the insides of the ears, you kind of want to do it and you kind of want to think of a leaf. So you want to start from the center and work your way outwards. But of course, before we do the paw pads, you always want to trim the nails first, because that way, when you have freshly trimmed nails, then you kind of know what foot shape you're working with. So I did go in and quickly trim all of her nails. Now, since she is a puppy, they were very easy to trim. They weren't very grown out and they were very soft, I want to say. They were very, very easy to clip, so I just clipped those down right to the quick, but obviously you don't want to quick them so they start bleeding. And then I went in with my number 40 blade and trimmed up the paw pads, making sure I'm getting all that excess hair out of there. That way it's not trapping moisture, dirt, germs, bacteria, all that yucky stuff, so I just made sure to clear them out really well. Now, if you ever have a dog who is really struggling with this process, they may not like having their feet touched, or it could be the temperature of your blade. So every time I am grooming, I do make it a habit to test the temperature of the clipper blade on my forearm. And then once the nails are all trimmed up and the paw pads are nice and clean, it is time to scissor the legs and kind of create a nice little cute round foot. Now, I was going to clipper the legs, but I thought she would look really cute with a little bit longer legs. So I left the legs to do a lot with my scissors, and I am using my Artero 8-inch curved shears for this, and I'm using my slicker brush to kind of brush the hair out and just kind of clip any hair that I see that doesn't look like it belongs there. And also you want to make sure that you're looking at the pet's leg from all different angles, because looking at it from one angle, I guarantee there's probably going to be quite a few hairs that you are missing. So just kind of brush every which direction, getting all those stray hairs and making them look as neat as possible. I am doing this with the back and the front legs. And also make sure that you are holding your shears correctly and securely so you don't end up nicking the pet, because you definitely, at all costs, you want to avoid accidentally cutting the pet. Now, it does happen. I have nicked quite a few paw pads already on accident, so it's really just make sure you're focusing, make sure you're paying attention to where your blades are, make sure you're paying attention to how you're holding them. It'll make a huge difference. And then once her legs are all nice and scissored up, nice and even, pretty looking, all of her feet are nice and cute and round, it is time to move on to the face. Now, the face is something that I always save for last. I don't know why, it's just part of my routine that I've gotten down. I always do the face last. So the first thing that I'm doing is I am just taking my number 40 blade again, and I am doing her stop area and kind of in the inner corners of her eyes just to get any gunk out. Now, I know there is a lot of different preferences on what to use for the stop area. Some people use a 30, some people use a 15. Me personally, I like to use the 40 because the teeth are a lot smaller and I just feel more comfortable doing it that way. I brushed all of her hair forward and used my curved shears again to kind of trim up her visor. And then I also went in with my thinning shears to get rid of some excess hair on her cheek area. And then I went in with my Greyhound comb and kind of combed her hair down and trimmed up her cheek area a little bit, making sure everything is nice and neat. And then I'm finishing off by trimming up her ears, getting rid of any excess hair. I didn't want to take too much hair off of the ears because I feel like that is a great deal of her personality, so I just kind of cleaned them up a little bit. Alright guys, and there you have it. This is how little Yuno turned out for my very first full groom on a puppy. She did really, really well for her first groom. I was very, very impressed with her. She did have her moments, but then again, what puppy doesn't? I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video. Again, I'm not a professional pet groomer. I am currently still in school, but I am very, very close to getting my certificate in dog grooming, so I'm very excited. Now, this groom is by no means perfect. I'm sure there are plenty of mistakes, but I just wanted to do this video, kind of share a few of the tips that I've learned and kind of show you guys my progress. So let me know down in the comments what you thought of this. I'm also going to be including a really cute clip of her and her brother Milo playing together. I just thought it was super cute and I really wanted to include it. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you go down and give it a huge thumbs up. Also, if you are a huge fan of dogs and this is the first video of mine that you are seeing, make sure you go down and hit that red subscribe button. I do upload every 3 to 4 days on this channel. As for the rest of you, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you very soon in my next video. I love you guys. Bye!